Yo, what's going on YouTube? So in today's video, I got for you guys a long-term review for the LG BX. I've had this TV for about 10 months now, I want to say. I got the 55-inch model, not that there's a difference between the 65 and the 55 on this panel. And honestly, I've been gaming on it. I've been in quarantine for a few months, and I was actually just watching movies and Netflix and Hulu and YouTube. Well, pretty much same thing everyone else was doing. So yeah, I've had a lot of time to spend on it, and I've messed around with all the settings. I've kind of fine-tuned it now to perfectly how I want it to be. I'm going to cover every aspect of the TV. With that said, I hope you enjoy the review.
First, I want to start with the bezels. Just looking at this thing, it is super thin. It's probably the size of a few credit cards stacked, maybe 2 or 3 most, but probably 2. It's so thin, and I like the fact that the back actually has a metal coating. It feels so nice and it looks nice. Probably not going to see much of it, but when you do see it, it's nice. Now the TV stand is made of all plastic. It's a pretty wide stand, and it actually doubles to help with the acoustics. The speakers on the LG BX are 2 speakers, 2 20-watt speakers that actually sound pretty good. I would argue that they rival an average soundbar, or maybe a low-end soundbar. How about that? It's a little better, and they sound awesome. You can play music and it sounds good. It gets the job done, and I think you could survive without a soundbar with this thing. When it comes to the sound, it actually gets a little rumbly. It's not clean bass, but it's there and it's noticeable, and you can feel it in some scenes and even in some music. Now let's talk about the front bezels. The front bezels are not big at all if you're sitting there watching TV, but if you look a little closer, they're a little thick considering this is like a premium set. It's an OLED set. It's a little high end, right? So in that regard they are, but they're nothing that's going to actually distract you or take up too much screen real estate. The connectors are pretty straightforward. You have 4 HDMI, you have 3 USB, you have an antenna, you have a Toslink. Nothing special. What is cool is on the back you have the 2 HDMI 2.1 ports. And you wouldn't know that, but the good thing is LG actually put a label 4K 120Hz on both of the HDMI ports on the back, so you know exactly where to find them. This is a really small stupid thing, but this TV actually has a power button. It took me about a year to find this, and it's located front and center directly underneath the TV. That is where the power button lives. They could have made it a lot more obvious. Now let's talk about the picture quality. This TV supports HDR10. It also supports Dolby Vision, even supports HLG, the lesser of the HDR standards, but it's good to know you have support for all 3 of them. Watching HDR 4K content on YouTube, everything looks nice and sharp and crispy, and the colors look nice and pop and look super accurate as they should. I expect nothing less from an LG OLED. Now let's talk about the apps. I mostly watch Netflix, so I'm just going to talk about that one. So I've watched The Queen's Gambit, I've watched Umbrella Academy, and both look amazing. I'm going to focus on Umbrella Academy because I think they did a really good job. They definitely did lots of color grading. This lighting scene here indoors, and it just looks amazing. The sun coming in and just glowing up the place, and the LG BX just makes it look that much better and just shows off these colors really well. Touching on the contrast, you have infinite contrast because this is an OLED. What that means is that you can get pure blacks and pure whites, and it does both well with an infinite contrast ratio. And I got a few clips here on screen, and you can just see how great of a job it does. I just love sitting here putting up YouTube clips, putting in 4K clips, time lapses, watching driving tours of different states. I just love watching the different scenery. I love watching nature, especially the good time lapses. Now as for the brightness, it doesn't get too bright. The numbers are pretty low if you look at the actual specs, but real world scenario, like when I sit down and watch TV, it actually looks pretty bright to me. I have the OLED brightness and some other brightness settings almost maxed out, so keep that in mind, but it's completely usable. The viewing angles also very easy, very good viewing angles. I could definitely see a living room full of people enjoying this TV. No issues with your friends coming in and sitting at the corners. I want to touch on the blacks a bit, and it's an OLED, so it gets perfect black all the time. The blacks look good, like I mentioned earlier, especially with the HDR shows on Netflix. They just look so gorgeous. One thing I will touch on is the black crush issue. I just want to say I haven't noticed it at all with this TV. I do see that some think it varies from set to set. I will say also, I've tuned my TV so that the blacks are a little more elevated. I've turned off all the post-processing features, so maybe that has something to do with it. Now let's talk about gaming. This TV supports 4K 120Hz, HDR10. It even supports 444 chroma subsampling. Even supports G-Sync. Even supports FreeSync. Even supports HGiG, which I'll get into a little bit. Literally any gaming feature that you need, this TV supports it, which is what makes the LG BX the ultimate gaming TV. This is what makes the LG BX and CX such attractive TVs, especially considering they're OLED and can do all the stuff for gaming. So 1 millisecond response time, huh? Is it real? I don't know. I don't have the tools to measure, but what I can tell you is what I can see with my own eyes. When I game on my PS5, I see very low latency. When I've gamed a few times on my computer, I've seen very low latency. My comparison is my 144Hz 1440p MAG 271 CQR gaming monitor. It's an MSI curved gaming monitor, also supports 1 millisecond, and honestly, I think they're on par. I have no latency, no delays, no real input lag that I can discern. Now the frame rate, 4K 120, not much to say there. It hits that number. If your gaming console, if your PC supports it, you will get 4K 120. You will get 444 chroma subsampling. You will get HDR10. Again, all the bells and whistles. I've played Destiny. I've played some Fortnite. I've played Rogue Company. And even Call of Duty Cold War. They all look buttery smooth. One thing to keep in mind, especially the next gen gaming consoles, you'll definitely have to tweak some settings in your console. You can see my last video for how to do that for the PS5. I've played the Resident Evil Village demo, and that demo looks so sick, let me tell you. It was so fun. Everything just looked super accurate. The black scenes just looked super spooky. Crawling around in the dungeon with Chris Redfield, or sorry, not Chris, but one of the maidens. It was just so awesome. This TV just highlights every part, makes the creepies creepier, makes those yellow hallways that are just like spooky and narrow just like that much better because of the way the color pop and reflects and that orangey light. It just really highlights everything and makes it a better gaming experience. Now speaking of HDR gaming, since ray tracing and HDR are like a thing now with the Xbox and PlayStation, I would highly recommend you turn on HGiG feature in your TV dynamic tone mapping settings. It will make a difference. It is the best way to view HDR content on your TV. It's balanced. It makes all the right colors and bright zones pop. It's just the way to do it. Just take my word for it, alright? Now let's talk a little bit about the apps, because you got to talk about the apps of the smart TV nowadays. And this TV leaves a lot to be desired. Coming from someone who owned an Android TV, I had all the apps at my disposal. I even had some mobile Android games at my disposal. I could connect a DualShock 4 controller and play some Android games. You could even do some emulation on it. A little complicated, not getting into that, but you could do it. You had so many more options and flexibility and apps available. With the LG OLED, you pretty much have the bare minimum. You have Disney Plus, Hulu, Netflix, Twitch, YouTube, Spotify. You have the regular suspects. That's the best way to say it. LG really needs to bring in some more unique apps or just a larger app library, and I think that will add some more value to the TV. Now let's touch a little bit on performance. The LG BX is the lesser model to the LG CX, and the CX the lesser model to the ZX. The BX performance is actually not bad. I don't find it snappy, but there's no lag and it performs pretty well. I don't really notice any latency. It's not really slow to open apps. I don't find myself just sitting there waiting, watching the TV think. Things load fine. No real issues there, and plenty of software updates coming down the line. As far as the home screen experience, it's nice, but I have one pet peeve and it's a small one. I'll save that for later, but right now the home screen is nice. They have this kind of home style home screen. It feels very homey. The icon and the layout look nice and clean. You can access all the features like sound sharing, which is really good. You get to take advantage of the nice sounding speakers. You can take advantage of Apple AirPlay and even do some screen sharing from your Android phone here. On the home screen is another way where you can switch inputs or just see an input preview, which is a nice feature. So now, final thoughts. Do I still think OLEDs are keen? They've been said OLEDs are keen for so many years, and as of right now I can confidently say yes. OLEDs are still keen. And to be specific, the LG BX and CX models are keen. For all the gaming features and picture quality, there's really nothing out there like them right now. You have some TVs that come close. I talked a little about the Q80T Samsung TV, which is really good actually. I think it's a really good value TV that supports lots of gaming features. There's some future tech on the horizon. You got mini LEDs, you have micro LEDs. They're both really interesting, and TCL's producing them right now where you can actually buy one for a decent price. But of the two technologies, micro is the one I'm most interested in and is the one that I feel confident is actually going to take over OLED in a couple years.
Thanks for watching my long-term review on the LG BX. I hope you enjoyed it. Drop a comment below if you have any questions at all about the TV. I would love to answer them. Let's chit-chat in the comment section. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. And hit a sub if you want to see more content like this, more TV content, more PS5 content. I got some stuff coming out for you. And that's it. See you in the next one. Peace.